The need to feel important is running rampant these days, and no better example is the new verification subscription services that social media platforms that have popped up on social media platforms. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, is
Mhm.
set to generate $2 billion in revenue from the verification subscription service this year alone, and that's according to research. Sticks, how do you feel about subscriptions being offered for social media platforms to be verified, and when you getting your blue check? Ah.
That was a good one. But if you know anything about me, you know I ain't paying for no blue check because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want that kind of attention anyway.
Right.
But just like we talked about before we started recording, bro, attention is one hell of a drug because if you have to pay for a blue check just to feel like, let me go back before I go forward. I think the people who have the blue check may pay for it to keep that same exposure because that's what the verification is supposed to do. Upon my research, is that
Mhm.
you pay your subscription and your content will continue to be pushed to the masses the way that it was prior to this whole subscription service came out.
Right.
Now, if you don't have it, it's kind of similar to shadow banning, so to speak. Like you
Mhm.
you won't be you won't be they won't be putting your content out there exposed to more people like they used to because you're no longer quote unquote verified. Me personally, I ain't got it and I ain't worried about it, to be honest. But if
Right.
you're somebody who has, because initially, whenever you got verified, number one, you had to they had to make sure that you were some kind of public figure. You had to go through a wide array of different things to make sure that you actually earned this blue check. It was something
Mhm.
that could be earned. It was something to be proud of back in the day.
Mhm.
Whenever you got it, I only know maybe two people that I talk to on a regular basis that have it,
Mhm.
and it was something to be proud of. Now, those same two people, well, I only speak to one of them on a regular basis, but those same two people are like, man, I ain't worried about that damn blue check. Like,
Right.
who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I don't care. I got it because one dude, don't Aaron got one?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. Okay. But both of them are just
I
like,
don't
man, I don't
think.
care about that blue check. But they got it because they were in the NFL and they are quote unquote some type of public figure. So they got it because of that. So it was something to be proud of. But now since you got to pay for it, I guess the people who have not necessarily small platforms. The small platform is like myself. I got 3,000 followers on Instagram. But somebody
Mhm.
who has somebody like a small content creator having like 10K or 15K, they might have the check mark that want to build their social media platform or they want to push their content a little bit further. They may subscribe to it. But the people who have 300,000 plus, why would they pay $8 a month or however, or even for businesses, from what I see, from what I've read, $1,000 a month for a business to have a gold check. Like,
Oh, that's new. I didn't read that. Okay.
yeah, it says businesses that are currently unverified will have to pay $1,000 a month if they want a gold check mark verifying their account.
Mm.
Like,
Okay.
for what? $1,000 a month is crazy. Most businesses, especially businesses starting out, are not successful the first 1 to 3 years.
Right.
So why would they pay $1,000 a month to social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Meta to get their joint verified if they ain't even really got the money to get it verified for real?
Right.
So I can see that happening for like a Apple or somebody in that realm. They
Mhm.
can spare $1,000 a month, but two complex podcasts ain't got that thousand, cut.
We ain't
Like
got
we
it.
ain't. Well, I'm not paying it, and I'm not paying it for my individual account. I know D'Lo ain't doing it either.
Nope.
So I think it's going to be one of those things where people are gonna have to figure out what the benefits are of it. But to me, there wasn't. Maybe it was because I don't got no blue check, so I can't say. But I didn't look at the people's pages that had blue checks any differently from the way I looked at mine or yours. So
Right.
to me, it ain't matter to begin with.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that when Elon originally introduced this subscription type service for Twitter, it was frowned
Mm-hmm.
upon.
It was.
And now that it's out for, as far as the data is concerned, the data is out for what Meta is expecting to generate revenue from,
Mm-hmm.
that is in the 2 billion range. It reminds me of when Steve Jobs said, the consumer doesn't know what they want until we put it out. And so,
Nah, that
and
makes so much sense. Steve Jobs was a genius, I swear,
yeah.
bro.
And so it's like, am I surprised by this? Again, we'll go back to our discussion we had with the male enhancement. Am I surprised about this? No. We live in an ego-driven world right now where everybody wants to feel important for doing nothing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so the amount of money that is going into being verified is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, and we'll get to the actual stats from my research. You threw a curveball for me, but we'll get to the
All
stats in a
good.
minute. But it's so ridiculous that Meta has now said they will not pay influencers to create reels anymore. That's how much revenue they're expecting to get from the subscription service.
That's crazy.
But then also another, and I say that jokingly, but maybe not. We don't know for sure. But it came out around the same time they released the subscription service, so
Right.
you can only assume. But they're also, expecting maybe potentially TikTok being banned, which is who they're trying to catch up to.
For sure.
But as far as the numbers are concerned, and how you get verified, you can only be verified if you're 18 and over.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, from what I saw, it's either 11.99 or 14.99 a month for the subscription. So the 11.99, I believe, is on the the actual application, the Instagram application or Facebook
Mm-hmm.
application, and then the 14.99 is for off application services. So if you're just using desktop, so if we are looking at the Americans that are over 18, that's 58.3 million Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are projected to make 2 billion dollars in revenue. So if we divide that by 14.99, which totals $178 a year, they expecting 11 million Americans to subscribe to this service. That's a lot of people.
But that's
that
that's also that's also only 5% of that number that you said though.
Exactly. It's only 5%, but it's the first year introducing this.
Facts. That's
And
true.
you
That's true.
know typically how stuff goes. You have early adopters, and then after the early adopters, you have the second wave. And the second wave is usually the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
And you know for a fact these social media platforms are going to find a way to make it more enticing for everybody else to jump on board. Right now, I think you have as you mentioned, you have the verification where you're not quote unquote shadow. Not with if you don't have the verification, you're quote unquote shadow banned. So your posts don't get pushed out as broad as they do if you are
Right.
verified. But you also get a direct line to Meta's customer service now. So I've never had this issue. I've never wanted to reach out to Meta's customer service for whatever reason. But apparently, if you are trying to reach out to them for whatever the case may be, it's very hard to get in contact with them. Now, if you have the verification, you have more access or better access to their customer service.
Hmm.
I'm willing to bet at some point in time down the line, they're going to introduce a whole list of perks and benefits for this verification process, something like Amazon Prime, where you get access to a bunch of different stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to entice people to want to get verified. So they'll have to pay. If not that, then we'll probably have to completely pay for social media at some point in time. Um,
At that point, I'll be off that motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie.
100%. And so you have people that are going against the grain on this, saying that, as you mentioned earlier, it's lost its value. Like the blue
Mm-hmm.
check has lost its value. It doesn't mean the same thing. And it'll soon be cool to not have a blue check than it will be to have a blue check.
I agree with that.
So, I mean,
Because I mean,
Again, in my
you hear Shannon Sharp, and they make jokes about it. Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless made jokes about it on Undisputed every single morning. And, and Shannon be like, Skip, you know I ain't buying that check. No, I ain't buying it. He's every single morning. Every time I watch or listen to it on Apple podcast. Matter of fact, we own that too, so y'all make sure y'all go look it up. But every time I listen to it, they making a joke almost every segment. It's like,
right.
I ain't paying for that. I guess I ain't gonna have that blue check, and that's what they say it every time. So it's like it's gonna be undervalued so much that everybody who had it, like you said, it's gonna be cool to not have it now in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Well, I wouldn't say 2, because like you said, that the first wave is going to be the people who pay for it, and everybody going to see, okay, maybe it's cool. Then that second wave is going to be the biggest jump, and then it's going to decline after that. And then they're not going to be making $2 billion a year off of this shit no more.
Well,
Because
if that second wave hit, they're gonna be making $6 billion off of it.
That's true, but I mean, it's not going to stay. It's not going to continue to incline. I doubt that 100%. It's
Everything
going
that
to
goes
come
up
down,
comes down.
and it's going to plateau probably somewhere around $500 million a year at that point. But nah, it's like you said, man. It's going to eventually be cool to not have it than it is to have it eventually, because they're putting a dollar amount on it whenever it was something to be proud of before. So now that we got to pay $14.99 for this just to have your platform push me the way I was being pushed prior to me paying this money, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would never in my life.
But you can only offer free for so long with certain things, though.
That's true. That's true.
So they're definitely continue to find some type of revenue model that works for them. Since one, for Meta, and not Instagram, Apple not kicked them off, but Apple created to where you can't track what users do on their phone anymore. So they had to change their whole model. That's really what started all this, honestly, is Apple saying, all right, we're going to lock down the phone so our consumers can't be tracked. And then now that marketing that Meta, formerly known as Facebook, and all those other social media platforms were using to sell data to other companies and bring in money, it made them search for different ways to bring in money. And I truly feel, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that at some point in time, they're going to say, okay, this small portion of the social experience on our social media platforms, you'll have access to for free. Everything else you're going to pay for. And when that time comes, like you said, I'll be completely off of that mug and not even worried about it. But I don't want to belittle those individuals that are paying for it, or judge them in any way. You got to do what is best for you. And some individuals do have businesses that they're running off of social media platforms. So to get that broad reach is very pertinent for them. And then some individuals, they just, it inflates their ego, and they have to have that. And if that's what keeps them from, doing anything harmful to themselves or others, by all means, you got the money to do it. You got the money to, feed into that addiction. Continue to do it. It is an addiction, but at this point in time, it's not an addiction that is detrimental to your physical health, or ending your life or somebody else's. So if you have it, do it, but you won't catch D-Lo with a blue check, at least paying for it.
Okay, so that bears the question, and then because you just sparked a light bulb just went off, right?
Okay.
We already established that us individually, me, Sticks, and D-Lo ain't paying for no blue check for our pages, right?
Yep.
But Too Complex as a company, do you think it would benefit us to pay for that blue check, to have our content pushed out there a little bit more, to possibly that help us get monetized on YouTube and, get paid for our reels and this, that, and the third? Do you think
Well, we
us
won't be
paying for
getting
the
paid for the
subscription?
reels.
Well, you did say that. My bad. You did say that.
Yeah.
But to help us build our platform, do you think it would be beneficial for us as the company to pay for it, and opposed to us individually? Because I don't care about my own page, but Too Complex, to get that to where we want it to be, would that be beneficial for us to pay for that subscription?
I mean, I could see some benefit in it if we were already over 10,000 subscribers or whatever the case is, because then you can only help that grow. From
True.
there, if you were subscribed, you have much of a broader net to reach individuals. Whereas right now, I think we're sitting at 100, maybe
A
something like
hundred
that.
what on Instagram?
Subscribers, followers on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Facts.
so
Yeah.
for us, we already our base is already small,
Hmm.
um, and the interaction engagement with others isn't that heavy, especially now that Instagram isn't pushing reels that much. So if
Very
they were
true.
pushing reels how they were, and that's the type of content that we put on Instagram and TikTok, then I guess maybe. But because they're not pushing reels how they are anymore, we don't post pictures, we don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't see the benefit in it as of right now, but that's me being short sighted. Trying to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
big picture, I can't really see the big picture, especially with the type of content that we push out. I think our best bet would be to go hard on YouTube as we have been,
Hmm.
and continue to push there until we make a breakthrough, and then from YouTube, all the other avenues
Avenues will come about.
that we are involved in start to pick up as well.
And hopefully by that time we'll have sponsors that'll be willing to pay for it for us.
100%, one hundred
So
percent,
that way we ain't gotta worry about paying that $14.99 out of our own
one
pocket.
hundred
Y'all need
percent.
to sponsors, y'all need to come on because try to
But the blue check wave is definitely about to hit an influx. You're gonna see people with 200 followers have a blue check, and you're like, okay, that's cool. But am I
right.
surprised? Are we surprised by it? I can say I'm truly not surprised by it. I
Not
don't think
surprised
that you
at
are
all, G.
surprised by it at all.
Not surprised at all,
But
G.
the amount of money that Facebook or Meta is generating from this in the first year
In the
is
first year.
crazy. Because and this is the last thing I'll say. Just last November, um, their financial trajectory was down,
It
and
was. Hmm.
from November until February, they've hit 100%, 101 to be exact percent um, flip. So they've gone from where they were to where they are now, just based
Hmm.
off of the trajectory and the thought that subscription process is going to be, or subscription revenue model is going to be positive for them.
Yeah, because Facebook stock's been down for the past, I think, want to say 2, 3 years now.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody's stock's been down, but theirs
Everybody's
has
has
really
been
been
down, but
down.
theirs
Yeah,
had really been down. Yeah. So
yeah,
now that they're coming out, and again, it's not just Facebook. Instagram is going to have it. Twitter's going to have it. So, and I think Twitter is the cheapest out of all of them at $8 a month.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's, unless you're a business, come out with that G.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
Instagram's a
it's
part of Facebook. Well,
oh,
a
that's true.
part
Yeah,
of they're
that's
under
true.
the
That's true. Yeah,
umbrella
they're
of
under the umbrella
Meta.
of Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, if you see value in it and you feel like it's going to be able to push your content further by you having this subscription every single month, by all means, do your thing.
Yep.
Me personally, I don't post much on Instagram or social media anyway, unless I'm posting like some funny clips that I saw or something like that. That are just going
Mhm.
through the reels, but I don't post. So for me personally, it wouldn't be something that I would look into, but possibly down the road for us as a business are too complex. Maybe depending
Yep.
on what everything looks like. We'll let the first wave be the crash test dummies. We'll let y'all do that first. And then we
Mhm.
might see something a couple of years down the line. But I don't see it, I don't see it doing much more for these people than what the blue check has already done. Honestly, I think they're honestly just making people, especially they're not paying people for reals no more. What's the point of having a blue check? Just to have
Yeah.
more, just to not be quote unquote shadow banned and have the same amount of eyes on you that you've had in the past. But now you're paying for that. But if you've got 300,000 followers on Instagram, or 500,000 followers on Facebook on your business page, what's the point? Because these people are going to see you anyway. They follow you, so that you're going to come up on on your feed. The biggest thing about having that blue check is to be pushed to people who don't know who you are.
That's not necessarily true either. It's very complicated. That algorithm is.
It
Um,
is. It
and the
is.
reason I say that's not necessarily true is because you said that the people that follow you are going to see your content anyway.
If you're
I know
posting, yeah.
I know for a fact that there are individuals that I follow that post on a quasi regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not seen their posts since I couldn't tell you when. I have to actually physically actively go to their page and see, oh
Hmm.
damn, they have been posting. Um, to actually see their content. And it's not that they're shadow banned. I think it's something like with my engagement or their engagement with me that keeps them
Mm-hmm.
from me from seeing their stuff. So I mean that's not necessarily true, but I'm
But I
sure.
mean, but how not though? Because if I feel like everybody that I follow, if they post something, I'm going to see it. That's where the For You page comes in, right? For
Mhm,
people who you don't follow, that it can be pushed on that For You page or something like that. But for the most part, the people who I actually follow, if they post something, I'm going to see it.
yeah,
If I'm scrolling, usually me, I'm just going through the reels myself, honestly. But if I'm scrolling through my timeline, if you posted something, I'm gonna see it. If I'm scrolling long enough, if you posted something, I'm gonna see it. And
yeah,
especially now with Instagram, and I don't know if Facebook is like that either, because I'm not on Facebook as much. But especially with Instagram, they don't. It's not even in chronological order anymore.
right,
So if you posted something 2 days ago, that could be up on at the top of my feed.
right,
So just depending on how much engagement you have with the platform itself is how often you're going to be pushed to the people that need to see it. But that's probably what you're saying then, because if you posting once a week, that's not going to be at the top of my feed. The person who's posting once or twice a day is what's going to be up on the top of my feed probably. But
yeah. I
that
don't.
might be, yeah,
I really am not sure about that algorithm. And
right, right, right.
they're probably not going to tell. They're not Elon Musk. They're not going to release the algorithm to you.
Right.
So, um, I I'm willing to bet, and I'm almost 100% certain. I'll say 98% certain that
Hmm.
everybody you follow, you don't see what they post unless one they have a ton of engagement on the post, or you regularly engage with them.
Yeah, because
But
I
again,
mean I follow 1,500 people, so I know I ain't seeing all 1,500 people's posts every single day.
right, you
But
see like all of the complex,
the people who you
those
engage
type
with,
of,
yeah,
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 the ones that you
yeah,
engage with on a regular basis, that's the one you're gonna see the most. So yeah, I feel
yeah.
you on that.
Well, but I mean, like we said, the blue check, it has lost its value.
100%.
When will that value ever come back? Who knows? I know there's been people that have paid for it secretly prior to this subscription service that have come out that you never would have thought have. So it's not anything surprising. It's not anything new. But now that it's widespread, I fully expect for that first wave to be the data set for these social media companies, and then they'll figure out another way, or they'll try to figure out some type of psychological trick to pull
Hmm.
more people in and entice them to purchase the subscription and bring in more money for them. Because ultimately, that's all it's about. It's about the money. More than you being verified, unless the government gets involved, and then this is a ploy to have your identity put on the line.
Information.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, man, I definitely think it has been devalued a little bit because like we said at the beginning of this segment, it's one of those things that was people were proud to have, and it was something that people looked at. Oh, Snappy verified. Who this verified person that's on? You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
celebrities. If you had a blue check mark on your page on Instagram or Twitter, you were looked at it on the same level as some of these celebrities. Like if I was to have one, I would be on the same level on Twitter as a Lil Wayne or a Drake because he's
Hmm.
verified too. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like it has no value now because once something that was free, that was now get to the point, now it's a participation trophy.
Hmm.
Everybody who wants to participate gets the trophy now.
Well, yeah, because you actually had to earn it. Like you,
You
in
had
some
to
form of
earn it
fashion,
before. Yeah.
some form of fashion, you had to earn it. You had to have some type of notoriety. Now you're paying
Hmm.
for that notoriety, and the value of it is gone.
It's gone. And it don't now, it don't matter if you got 1 million followers on Instagram or 100 followers on Instagram, you can be
Yep,
verified. So
100%.
that value it has diminished so much, bro. It's crazy.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you've gotten this far, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell so that way you miss none of the content. Also, you can find us on all these streaming platforms wherever you find your podcasts.